Welcome back to Diomedes Abridged, where in the previous part we were holding off the Trojans. We've still got a ways to go on that, but we've taken down a few of their armies at least. And we're waiting for Diomedes to sort out this stuff on the edge of the map against Crete. We've got Crete, and now we just need to take this other island to stop this faction being at war with us, and then that will be that. On the Trojan front, there was almost another large battle, because I started committing myself to this engagement, going for a 2-on-2, where we have a slight advantage at the very least. But that's where I saved the game and stopped playing, and when I came back to play another day, I was like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? This looks bad. So I immediately withdrew from that battle, because we can do something very similar but slightly better, by putting both of our armies in an ambush position right next to the town. That way, we may be able to not fight multiple enemies at the same time to make it easier, and we may also be able to have the town garrison participate, also to make it easier. So we set up a double ambush there, and wait to see if that gets us anything. It might actually be worse technically, because they could do a 4-on-2 swarm if they really try, but we're going for the gamble, I suppose. Now back to Diomedes. I want to take this city he has under siege right now, because as mentioned last time, the Rhodians are sending an army towards Crete, so we need to sort stuff out here ASAP, so I'm not going to wait for any more siege equipment or attrition or anything like that. It's a balanced setup. There is quite a lot of stuff on the inside because they have the leveled up garrison building here. But we've done battles like this before, and we're going to do the same strategy as before. Also a bit of a gamble. We essentially just vanguard deploy at the wall and hope the bits of wall we happen to choose aren't that defended by the enemy. Well, on the left side of the town, they are pretty heavily defended actually. Towards the middle, we're just going to do a standoff at that gatehouse with a ram and a small group. On the right side though, we do get lucky. We get 2 units inside with no resistance at all, and could even climb in a spot where the towers couldn't see us. So that's all perfect. We could not make this attack on the left side and just turn this into another standoff, but I've started, so I'm just going to pour more and more units into this and see what happens. The enemy don't have that much stuff here, in that we can kind of match them numerically. It's just going to be a disadvantageous fight, so we won't be trading very well. Diomedes, of course, gets in there as well, and he is such a tank that that's going to cement our position here. We saw this early in the campaign. Even if everybody dies, Diomedes will probably survive, and we can just keep going with this attack. The only downside is that he's not actually very good at killing enemies, so it takes him a very long time to make any progress on his own. We have taken a gatehouse on the east end of the town, so we can now move in a couple of units I had waiting there. We'll have more presence in the streets. And this wall fight, well, we'll just have to wait and see. We're going to be taking sling stones throughout the battle, which will make it a bit worse. But a lot of the enemies in this area actually started running away to move back, perhaps as a result of me capturing that other gate. They want to go to the capture point and defend it. So we end up clearing things up here. We did lose, I think, at least 1-ish unit of troops, but nothing too bad. The remaining units trying to escape will be easily defeated because they can't rout out of there. Still getting annihilated by those enemy slingers, but now we can start to do something about that. Over at the gate, well, the enemy has responded. They've got units here now, but we're going to fight them successfully. We've got 1 unit of spears already routing out of there. This other one's about to get surrounded with this cheeky rear attack. That's all very good. Over here, the fight's not quite so good. They've got some giants fighting against us, and our 2-handed axemen, who are like an anti-armor unit, probably won't do very well against a low armor but high damage enemy unit like the giant vanguard. What we can do though is deploy our young spears, a terrible unit that happens to have a bonus against large, and I think the bonus against large applies to giants, even though they're not that large. So they should do a bit better than normal, plus we can outnumber them at the very least. We've now managed to capture the western gate as well. That's very handy. We'll take those slingers down in melee, and by opening the gates we can let some slingers and chariots from our side come and join the fray. There are more enemy giants here, and Diomedes is dealing with them. He's quite good for tanking giants. He isn't very good at attacking them. You can see he can't even quite work out where they are. But he does have absolutely loads of health and armor. There we go, he killed one of them. And we'll see in a second that his health doesn't really go down in the fight. I was checking it out in the replay. I never really looked too closely when playing, but you can see his health occasionally goes down by like 1 pixel, and then it comes back because one of the abilities he gets upon leveling up is regenerating health. So I think he's actually regenerating health faster than it's going down in that fight. He's functionally invincible, although it might be like in Warhammer where your regenerating health eventually stops after you've regenerated a certain amount, I'm not quite sure. So that's going fine, and the fight over towards the other gate is now getting resolved. We're hacking our way through that group from the front, and now we've got some of our axes back behind them for a rear attack. That will finish off the last bit of morale and win this blob for us. Very nice. With both gates secured, we're going to have free roam through the city. Even though the balance bar still shows quite a lot of enemy strength, a lot of that strength is just in the ammunition of all of these ranged units that are standing off against us at the southern gate. All we need to do is not go near them and push towards the capture point instead. My slingers will help out Diomedes with the giant situation, although these giants are armoured and shielded, so they're also strong against sling attacks. Diomedes is a good thing to shoot at because you're unlikely to do friendly fire damage to him. Also, we have some giants of our own charging into some enemy slingers here. One thing I like about giants in this game is they avoided the temptation to make them a slow, powerful unit. They're a fast and powerful unit, which makes more sense. Giants would actually run faster than normal guys. They should just be all around better, but you have fewer of them, and I think that is how it works, so that's nice. A bit later, there was a nice engagement here where we've got some enemy spearmen locked down fighting my axes, but then I come at them from behind with our pike chariots. I remember the last time I played this game. Chariots seem to be generally the way to go. They're super powerful. That appears to still be the case. They're not as powerful as they look, a classic Total War trick, but they're still very powerful. And in this case, the morale damage they do by just flattening everyone finishes the unit off. I'd like to try and get some more chariots if I can, but you have to have certain buildings to unlock them, so we don't have very many opportunities to recruit them. Later in the fight, the standoff at the southern gate finally ended. The AI noticed something was going wrong and tried to come back to retake the capture point from me. Well, they failed. Let's just skip to the ending now. We absolutely annihilated them. It all went better than expected. Didn't even lose any units. The ones that got a little bit hammered with that dangerous assault on the western wall survived technically, so they'll come back to life later. And that's finally the end of that war. There will still be the war with roads, but what I decided to do with this is wait at least one more turn. I still have the option of using dominance to force them out of the war, so we've got that up our sleeve. I wanted to wait a turn to see what they would do and then decide how annoying it was going to be to fight them normally and work it out from there, since actually attacking them and taking their territory wouldn't be such a bad thing. For now, we've got some more Trojan action to look in on. Here's a pretty good move from the AI actually. It seems they've really started to factor into the AI scripting the ability to walk past strong positions to attack more distant but easier to take ones, as they're doing here by breaking their siege of Marathon to just go and attack the next town down the road. This is more annoying for me, but slightly harder for the AI to think of doing. I just generally don't see it doing stuff like this, so I feel like it's somehow better in this game. As for the fight, while the enemy had the advantage on the campaign map, it's doing the old switcheroo where in battle it's actually just fine, and we've got a strategy for this situation already. We've used it already in this campaign. First we set up here and there to delay the enemy, while we send all of our ranged stuff to go on an adventure outside the town to then rear attack the enemy once they're stuck into battle. Here we are then, with that happening. Once everything's in place, there's not too much we can do other than hope that it works. They've got plenty of stuff to break through here with sheer mass, just need to kill them fast enough that they don't. They almost actually got through my positions. I didn't do a very good job of blocking them. Had to use a couple of officers to lock the enemy down here. That worked out well enough until my swords get in to fill this gap. Now we wait, and really the long story short on this battle is that it did work. The main blob that we attacked with our slingers is killed fast enough, just about, so that they don't destroy my front line and break through. We then kill them for a bit and bring the slingers around and the surviving melee troops to sort out the remaining enemies, who will now be easier thanks to army losses. I think we also routed their commander out of the blob, which will help too. Now we start chasing them off the field, but critically, I actually forgot to do the rout phase and chase them to the edge of the map, so you can see on the right that quite a lot of their stuff is still alive. There's the punishment for not playing the rout phase. there's something I really don't like about this game. It's completely unnecessary. Just say that they died if it's possible to kill them, but very boring to do so. Moving right on to another battle, with our double ambush setup, our big trap works. Somebody walks right in and gets absolutely annihilated by a one-sided auto-resolve. Boom, that's one enemy stack out of the way, but there are still 3 to go, and those 3 then step in to engage. Now our ambush has been revealed. We've got a normal battle. It's our 2 and a bit versus 3, but our first army is better than theirs overall, so it's a balanced-ish setup. We're not going to fight that one though, because there's no point, there's no reward for winning that battle. We can still seek an easier battle, and indeed an easier battle comes up immediately, because one of their armies attacks my remaining lesser army and our town garrison. For some reason the other 2 armies that were involved in the battle just now aren't here, they're not reinforcing. So this is actually okay, and I decided to fight it, especially because the army I'm using is pure trash. Doesn't really matter if they die. We're doing a double line trash strategy with both flanks protected by cliffs. There's something I do like about this game. The maps are much better than most Total Wars, or all Total Wars really. Lots of stuff on the map. Although we do still have the classic reinforcement direction bug going on. It's not a 180-degree difference like in Warhammer. But the guys coming out of the town didn't come out of the town. They appeared in the enemy's deployment zone instead. That's the classic issue. In this case, it's not going to be that bad because we can use them for a rear attack eventually. Their commander comes back to engage with us. We're going to try and run past him as much as possible to take part in the main fight. As for that fight, it's a delaying action from us. We're deploying half of our infantry to hold the enemy between our flank cliffs. They'll be in trouble, our infantry, because they'll be outnumbered and in some cases outflanked, like right here, a cheeky rear attack from those club guys. The enemy of course will have more troops to use because I'm not deploying this massive second line, but I'm just saving their stamina. We'll deploy them later if needs be. And then we wait for our other army to attack from behind. That will quickly deal with the enemy's ranged troops, and then we'll just hope it does something similar to the melee blobs. And as our spearmen die in those blobs, we can filter in the militia to buy a bit more time if needed. But actually we don't really need it. The spearmen are just about hanging on and the rear attacks are beginning. You can see another feature of the blood DLC is that the blood splatters all over the grass. It was in this replay, it became very obvious that was happening. Absolutely ridiculous, but I've embraced the ridiculousness at this stage. This series should be called How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Blob. I think the battle system's okay, despite me thinking it was my least favourite one when I first came in to play this game. Anyway, the battle appears to be going quite well. Elements of their main line start to disappear. They do have a few good units as well, which won't be so easy to rout by just rear attacking them. And generally winning because we have more stuff at this stage. So this battle has now been a success. We'll very carefully kill as much as we can on our way towards the edge of the map to make it more worthwhile. Their commander is still fighting at the back. They left behind these spearmen to keep him occupied. He's gradually killing them all. You can see here he knees some guy so hard his arm comes off. This guy has got a sturdy kick to him. More weird antics from the Gore DLC it seems. But that's all fine. As we slaughter the enemy on the way out of the battle, I'm going to strategically leave that general alive, both out of respect for his powerful godlike knees, and because if everything in the army is dead but for the general, and the general has very little health, leaving him alive actually helps you out because of the way the game debuffs the enemy's economy based on how many generals they have in the field. That guy is not going to make any difference militarily, but they'll still get the same minus 5% econ debuff or whatever it actually is that they would for having a full stack out there. So it's just annoying the enemy really. It makes it slightly slower for them to come back with another stack, which is of course what they'll do, which is why I say there's no particular advantage to defeating the enemy here. Killing them will just make them come back in a few turns, but like 8 turns or something, long enough for us to do something potentially. So that's the value in killing them. It's just not that valuable in the current strategic setup. That said, we're still going to kill them because check this out. When I just counterattack with both of our armies, the enemy's remaining stuff can't stand up to us. They've got a lot of troops, but it's loads of town watch and militia, just rubbish that we can auto-resolve our way through. Minimal losses, only one unit goes down, everyone else will regenerate after the battle. Perfect! This massive blob of a Trojan invasion has now been defeated. So what can we do with that? Well, we can't move too far away from this area, but we don't necessarily need to. There's a target right up there. We are back to the going for Helen mission. I'll walk to the edge of our territory, necromant some of our guys, and then keep going. The other army needs to wait around because we're not quite in the clear. For example, Paris, the enemy's faction leader, is within a turn's movement of many of our settlements. Therefore, our second army will just sit around in the nearby port and see what happens. With the road situation, well, it goes away because they want peace, as it turns out, so we can get some money from them. It does still have that "you will be dishonored" problem, but I just went for it and it's like a -1 to diplomatic relations. It was all fine, or -1 to chance for deals to go through, I should say. With that done, we can now have Diomedes do the official plan. While our shield, our trash shield, defends against the Trojan invasion, Diomedes will move all the way across the map and do something about the Trojans in a more permanent way. We'll ask Poseidon to help us out with this because we'll be doing lots of sea travel, and now we just have to continue waiting. As we wait, Paris annoyingly goes and attacks Marathon. His army's not very good though. He's got a couple of real units, the Trojan nobles and the harpies, that are very powerful. Everything else just the usual pure trash. It looks like the Trojans forgot to build any military buildings before making their invasions. This was a case where we would probably win if we did this, but I don't want to, so I just hit auto-resolve, and we actually did win, just barely. We lost a bunch of units and troops. Doesn't really matter though, because it's garrison, they'll probably come back. If they attack again this turn it would be a problem, and they can attack again this turn, they do have another army next door, but they don't, so that's that, we get away without having to fight Paris. Now though, an issue is beginning to arise. As I was looking to see what Diomedes should do next, it dawned on me that the Amazons, who we're at war with, are absolutely everywhere. We're going to have to appreciate this soon enough because they are going to be in my way. They control the seas and lands between Diomedes and our target, Troy. For now, we'll just move up to the next island and wait, but we'll be seeing more of the Amazons soon. My plan to take Helen fails because Achilles does it before I get there. Inconvenient, but I'm sure that still applies some debuff to Paris's faction that should make him be less of a nuisance to us. I don't really remember what it does. Something good has probably happened. At least they've lost a territory. I'm now able to grab peace with a nearby island. I forget why we're at war with those guys up there, but we'll just take them off the menu. That will simplify things and bring it down to pretty much just us fighting the Trojans and the Amazons. But that is still plenty of stuff to do. For the army that was standing near Marathon and conveniently didn't take it in the previous turn, I've now recruited over the last couple of turns a stack of trash just to kill them. They move out and do it, so now our back lines are looking more secure. The only thing that's still back there is Paris with a few survivors, and he's wandering towards the coast going north where he perhaps was hoping to link up with Helen. That's not going to happen anymore. We're going to pointlessly kill some of his troops with my spy. He's not going to be a problem. It feels like we've got something of a victory on our hands against the Trojans, or a defensive victory. They're not going to spam us anymore for now, but the Amazons, as mentioned, are simply going to take their place. Check this out, they've got like 9 armies in the sea nearby. They're swarming over that island right there. So it seems the AI of the Amazons has kicked in. They've decided they're coming over here now, meaning the defense is not over. With that in mind, our main defensive army will move back to the Peninsula of Death and just keep sitting around. That's our defensive point, it seems. We'll see if we can draw the enemy back over there. It's not a very good defensive point because of how easily they can just move past it. So far, it's been okay though. And of course, we haven't quite finished off the Trojans. Here they come with another stack trailing their invasion to join the Peninsula of Death. And of course, by the time we've killed that guy, I'm sure some more will be on the way. The Amazons have moved a little bit closer after the next turn, and most importantly, they're very much in the way of Diomedes, who was ready to sneak past right here. We've got a lot of armies blocking our path. Luckily, a lot of them aren't full armies, They're being very inefficient there. They've got too many generals in the field. Well, whatever. We're going to do that. We're going to bypass them and attack the Amazons' territory instead. The classic sneaky move. They can send all of their armies over to my side of the map. I'll just send Diomedes to their side of the map. And we'll do whatever we can with all of our other resources and troops to just hold on, not lose too much stuff. And the sword of Diomedes will defeat the enemy maybe, while the shield of everyone else and all of the trash holds on. That's the strategic plan then. That we'll be putting into action in the next part. In this part we haven't really made that much progress because we spent so much time just defeating the enemies that were swarming at us. And there are still more swarming at us, so there'll certainly be more of that. But with Diomedes now moving back into action, our conquests should be able to continue. I don't actually know at this stage in the campaign what my objectives are. I haven't even been looking at them. We're just going to try and end these wars, and at some point I'll probably work out what I'm supposed to be doing. This is high quality gameplay. More of it coming soon.